Hey, Ryan. Stanley Jackson talked several years ago about the years that he and Joe Germain had a two quarterback situation, and that one of the problems that arose, at least in that situation, was factions sort of build within the team supporting one quarterback or the other. How are you trying to manage this situation to avoid that, and what goes into that?
That's something you keep a close eye on to see if something like that's going on. And I'm not seeing any of that going on at all. But if it's something that becomes an issue, then we'll have to address it. But try to keep a close eye on it to make sure that that's not going on. I know that our team right now feels confident, with both guys in a game, and then we'll kind of see how Saturday goes. But certainly hear that and keeping a close eye on it.
All righty, we'll go next to Austin Ward. Austin, go ahead.
Ryan, I assume with Emeka being healthy that he would handle punt returning again. Have you made final decisions there for kickoff and punt return going to Saturday?
Yeah, it looks like he'll do the punt returning, and then Xavier will start off doing the kickoff returning.
Alrighty, next up, let's go to Dan Hope, 11 Warriors.
Yeah, actually, to follow up on that, were you looking at any other options there in terms of changing up those kick and punt return duties, or did you feel pretty solid to just stick with what you did last year?
We looked at a lot of different options to see, who could do that, and we'll possibly give some of those guys opportunities. But when you talk about returning both punt and kickoff, they require a certain skill set. The first thing is they have to be able to field the ball. We put some guys back there and felt like once the ball was in their hand, they gave us a real good chance, but didn't quite handle the ball very well. And then other guys, just you have to take care of the football. You have to be strong enough to take a shot because those are kind of high speed hits. So there's a lot that comes with it. But this year you'll see different guys have opportunities as time goes on. But Emeka and Xavier certainly are the guys that give us the best chance right now.
All right, let's go next to Stephen Means from Cleveland.com.
Ryan, you kind of touched on it on the radio show, but that 21 class, first of all, just how was it putting it together, given that you couldn't actually go out and recruit? But also, that group has played a lot of football, some of those guys since they were freshmen. How have you seen that maybe pay off now that they're maybe the heart of the team this year as third-year guys?
Well, a lot of them had to play as freshmen 2 years ago, and I think back on that Minnesota game and all the guys that had not played either because they were freshmen or because because of the COVID year, just didn't quite get the game experience that you typically would get in a year. When I talk about the experience of this team, I think that's part of it. The guys in that class who are in the third year played a significant amount of football. To think these guys are juniors, you would think that maybe they're fourth and fifth year guys, just the way they handle themselves, but also the amount of game experience that they've had.
Alrighty, next up, we'll go to Clay Hall, WSYX. Clay, you're up. Clay, you're muted.
I undid. You got me now?
Yep.
Ryan, is the plan for playing time fairly concrete or rigid, or is it by feel for the quarterbacks?
We're putting together a plan on, kind of how we see it play out. And then, as the game goes on, we'll get a feel for what we think gives us the best chance to win. But we'll certainly have a plan going into, the start of the game.
Alrighty, next up, Patrick Murphy, 247 Sports.
Ryan, you've talked a good amount about Luke Montgomery and kind of his rise this offseason. How surprising maybe was it that he was able to work his way into at least the two deep this quickly, and what is special maybe about him to be able to do so?
I think the thing that's special about him is his combination of athleticism, intelligence, and toughness. You could see that last year, actually watching basketball, you'd say, well, how do you know about toughness? I mean, he got his forehead split wide open, and not too long after that, he got it stitched up and got right back on the floor. You could see the athleticism. You could see his movement and how he would go up and down the floor, even on the basketball court. And the intelligence just based on the conversations you would have with him. But then there's also it's intelligence off the field, but also intelligence on the field, and learning to move on from your mistakes, learn from your mistakes. He's done all of those things. Coming here in January has allowed him the opportunity to help become a contributor this season. And So, how much he plays in the first game, we'll see, but we plan on him playing this season.
All righty, next up we'll go to Tony Gerdeman, Buckeye Huddle. Tony.
Ryan, you said on the radio show a lion's share of snaps from Mike Hall. What is that? What is that? What number might that be?
I don't know the number exactly, but I think that when you have somebody who's in their third year who you're counting on, they're in there. They're not really rotating every series. I mean, they're taking the majority of the snaps. But between Tyleek and Ty Hamilton, they're going to rotate, and then we'll find that fourth and fifth piece that'll kind of work their way in. Jaden McKenzie, Tywan Malone, and so there'll be some of that going on. But we all know the challenge for that group in general. JT, Jack, the two Ties, Mike, Kenyatta. I mean, we're counting on those guys to be the ones that we can count on.
All right, we'll go next to Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row. Spencer.
Ryan, when it comes to Carson Hinsman, a lot of attention's been paid to the quarterbacks and their first time on the road, but you also have a first-time center. What's the message to him going into a game like this?
I agree with you. I think it's one of those things that you got to kind of get the butterflies out in the first drive, and then just let your athleticism and training take over from there. But yeah, he'll be worked up early on, and I expect him to. I think anybody who's played in their first game, it's all firsts, and so that's just natural. But he has to trust his training and trust what's going on and know that he's going against really good players every day in practice. And then if you just trust the technique that Coach Fry spoke or teaches him every day, he also has two really good guards next to him who have a lot of experience, Donovan and Matt, to lean on. But excited to see him get on the field and get that first game under his belt.
All right, from the front seat of his car, Tim May.
Thank you very much. Everybody's got to be somewhere. Isn't that right, Coach Day?
That's right.
I think I heard you last week say that basically, push comes to shove, you're going to be doing the play calling again. I mean, is that correct? And then number two, what's sort of your thought process behind that? Because I think we all expected this to be the case, over the last few months. But go ahead.
Yeah, Brian and I are going to keep working through it. We talked about a little bit this week. We'll talk about it more even as we head in, but we'll both have the same call sheet. We'll both be talking in between series. We'll work together on this thing. But as time goes on, we'll try to give more and more of an opportunity for Brian to call it. But early on, I'll be heavily involved.
And having a first-time quarterback, first-time center, everything else, is that part of your thinking too? Is it there needs to be clarity there, so to speak?
Yes. Yeah, I think that's important.
Thanks, man.
You got it.
All righty, we'll wrap it up with Bill Rabinowitz from the Columbus Dispatch.
Mike, when you said that the rule was only one question, I was going to say except for Tim May, but he actually came through with the second question. So Tim,
he did.
He actually gets the pass, right?
he's a vet. That's a veteran move. Tim is a veteran, and we'll wrap it up with Bill Rabinowitz. Bill, I think you're muted.
There we go. Ryan, I know this is a tricky question to answer because I know you have a lot of respect for Indiana and Tom Allen. But last year, you guys opened with Notre Dame. And this year, you've got 3 games that you're going to be at least pretty big favorites. Do you feel like that gives you at least a little bit of a cushion to figure out the quarterback situation before you have to play Notre Dame this year?
I think that this game, I've said this before, is a completely different story than last year for us with all the new that we talked about going on the road. We're not at home. We don't have veteran guys in some areas. So, we're looking at like this is going to be a dogfight. It usually is. It'll be close at halftime, and then we're going to have to win the game in the second half. If it goes another way, it goes another way. But we're going to do everything we can to win this game and do its best to win this game, and then we'll come up for air after the game. I think if you do anything else, it's dangerous. So we're gonna not do that. We're gonna try to get these guys, their first completions of the season and get the first down, play really well on defense, tackle really well, take care of the football, and try to get our first road win on the road. And then we'll come up for air and figure out what's next, and we play, next week. But you can't look that way. And I know it's, you know, from everybody's point of view, you look at it from the wider lens, but we can't do that. And, you know, we have 18 to, well, actually, I think 24-year-olds on the team, but usually see 18 to 22, but we do have a couple older guys on the team with Jesse and Tristan and Xavier, but these guys are still young, and you know, you have to take it week to week. And the minute you don't think it's an important game, try losing it, you know. So we're not going to do that. We're going to, our first goal this season is to win our first game against Indiana. That was one of the goals that we wrote down, because we know how important this game is going to be for us to set the tone for winning on the road this season, and getting some of our guys that first start under their belt in some key areas. So that's it. We got to find a way to win the game, and then we'll come up for air next week.